Croctopus skip, which we missed most of it, so oh well. We'll see it again in the second race. Now we're off to, what is this, Barrel Cannon Canyon. And here there's a nice extendo going across Kanis's screen to cross a pretty large gap between the third and fourth Kremlin, if I counted correctly. Otherwise, most of this level is just taking auto barrels across the top of the screen, which is fairly easy. For the first boss, this boss is pretty easy to beat, but kind of challenging to optimize. The way he works is you have to hit him on top of his head after he's reached the peak of his jump. So if you try to hit him before he's reached the peak of his jump, you'll be bounced off of him and not get credit for the hit. And for the first two jumps that Naughty does, his jumps are so small it's hard to tell when he's at the peak exactly. So very easy in the first two hops to be too early. But looks like both runners were out there just fine. Winky's Walkway, first level in World 2. Actually, quite a fun level. It's very, very short, but really a lot of fun rolls in here. A few of these naughties can really get in your way and make you bounce off them, losing a little bit of time, but I didn't really notice anything bad there from those runners. Rheal actually in 2-2 opting to pick up the DK barrel, not the most optimal method. I believe, Kanis did the more optimal method, rolling through the barrel and then jumping over the auto barrel and into the warp. Not a huge difference, but whatever happened, Kanis is a little bit behind from World 1, so he'll take advantage where he can to crawl back in, even if it's only 0.2 at a time. Bouncy Bonanza here, this is the toughest World 2 stage, in my opinion. Rheal opting not to go for the B-skip there. He does go for the second half of B-skip, though. When you're going through a crawl space, you can crouch jump through, and Kanis showing right there how it's done for the full B-skip. By crouch jumping through, you are able to go through the crawl space much more quickly, and thus able to beat out the arcing B cycles, saving a little bit of time. Rheal, unfortunately, wasn't able to get the first half because he got stuck in the actual crawling animation, which is much slower. Rheal into stop and go as is Kanis, going straight to the left to get to the developer warp to the end of the level. And the mechanic of this is the stop and go barrels will stop the rock crocs. But you'll notice at the very end we don't take the final one. We actually are able to roll through moving crocs and not take damage. As long as you're in the rolling animation, they do not hurt you. If you jump out of the rolling animation, then they'll hurt you. So the route is set up in a way where we just skip the last one and only need to roll through one rock croc to survive. Here is the first instance of a super jump in the run. And I'll try to explain this a little bit more in depth in Forest Frenzy since I missed my opportunity here, but both runners getting it with no problem, as expected. Very, very nice. A little bit of RNG in this boss. We got Neki 1 here. Whether he spawns on top or bottom is the RNG. Technically, if you're the task, you can be optimal regardless of where the Neki spawns, but for a human player, the low spawns are much easier to time optimal hits. Kanis trying to go for a super optimal hit there actually on the final low spawn and taking damage. Not usually what happens there. Usually the low spawns are very, very easy. That's going to cost Kanis about, I believe, 3 seconds. He'll have to grab the DK barrel in 3-1 and then swap to Diddy. Since we're talking about 3-1, it's important to note that this developer warp in this level is a Donkey Kong only warp, and it's a timed warp. So if you don't get to the spot where the warp exists in time, it'll not appear, and if you get there with Diddy, it will not appear. So it's two caveats there, but Kanis does eventually get there in time. Okay, what? I don't know exactly what happened there. I feel like, did we just travel back in time? I don't know. Anyways, somehow they're both on Treetop Town, both exiting out just fine. Rheal actually going for the tire roll, which is actually a slightly slower strat and a riskier strat, so I don't know if you got the memo about that one. But very cool swaggy strat. Here we're going to set up a super jump. Kanis taking damage right there. Diddy, when he takes damage, runs left or right. and in this case, he runs right into a wall. Running into the wall makes him jump off screen. He got the super jump roll. I'll talk about that in a second. Anyways, Diddy jumped off screen, storing the super jump state. So then Kanis went to the right with Donkey, took damage to get Diddy back in front. During the damage transition, he started holding B, and then Kanis actually went for the super jump roll, which means he ran off the ledge and pressed Y on the exact frame where he'd make contact with the enemy. The game doesn't know to give him if he should be giving a roll or a bounce off the Kremlin, so it gives him what we call a super jump roll, rolling across the screen at super speeds. You can notice on Rheal's screen, he was pretty much tied with Kanis, but now is about 20-something seconds behind because Rheal only got the super jump. Rheal did not try to press Y to hit the frame perfect trick. Can't necessarily blame him in a race. It is pretty scary in Force Frenzy. If you are too early on your Y press, you'll just get a regular roll, not a super jump roll, and then you will pretty much have to kill yourself and try to start the level all over again. So Kanis went for the risk and got the reward. Temple Tempest, really fun stage here in World 3. Lots of really fun extendos. Rheal, I believe, is about to get to the big extendo, right? Yeah, he's Rheal setting up for the I think what they call the double extendo. Oh, and he does not really set that up well. Unfortunate, but not a big deal. He'll take a little bit of a time loss there and safely roll. Just like the Rock Crocs in Stop and Go, you can roll through those naughty wheels. As long as you are in the rolling animation, you do not take damage. Kanis going for map warp gets second try. We'll see it again on Rheal's screen. We're going to go into the Funky Kong plane sprite. As long as you're a single sprite, whether it's the plane from Funky or just a single Kong like just Diddy or just Donkey, you can actually enter a level that's on a corner where there is no level node. So we go back to World 1, and you can see on Rheal's screen, he is mashing his face buttons, A, B, X, Y, and hoping to hit the frame perfect trick right there, teleporting us into the end of O-Gang. The other spots on World 1 map that have no level node on a corner take you to different spots. One of them takes you to the middle of O-Gang. One of them takes you to, I believe, somewhere in 1-2. So yeah, they all have different locations, and that's the one we use in all stages because it's the fastest to get us out of O-Gang. Let's see, so Rheal's a little bit behind. He's making his way through Clam Chowder right now, as we call it. Real name is Clam City, but Clam Chowder is a much more fun name. And the level's not too bad as long as you keep on guard. Just know where to lunge. Let's see if Rheal goes for the clam clip. No, he goes the under route, which I prefer the under route myself as well. Much safer, and if you're going to take damage on the top route, you're probably losing time anyways, so much more consistent. B-Boss here, the B is going to flash red and yellow when he's just about to be, or she's just about to be able to be hit. So the runners are, going to zigzag across the B, waiting for that flash to indicate that it's almost time, and then take the barrel. Either they're going to jump into the B with the barrel, or they're going to throw the barrel. So Rheal is opting to throw. Meanwhile, on Kanis' screen, entering 4-1, does go for Joe roll. Let's see if he goes for zero roll. Does an extendo through that necky. Opts out of it, actually. I think he was probably trying to go for it, because if he knew he was going to opt out, he probably would have entered into the barrel off of the jump right away. But that little hesitation makes me think that he was probably going for zero roll, that little extender through the necky, and then knew he wasn't going to make it, and then was kind of unsure of how to compensate for it. Meanwhile, Rheal showing, well, actually, he didn't go for zero roll either. So, let's see, Kanis getting the under barrel, taking a little safe, though, not going for the instant form of the under barrel, where you can go from underneath the barrel and jump into it and go into it right away. Instead, he took it safe and jumped early enough where he would fall into it from above. It is definitely a little bit scary, especially in a race, because if you do take that roll too long, you'll actually just fall off screen and die. Rheal also opting to take a little bit safe, going into that barrel from above. Looks like Kanis does get the out of bounds rope tech to get to the warp barrel. Typically, the warp in 1-2 or in 4-2 is a donkey exclusive warp, but you can bounce around or jump off the ropes twice to go out of bounds above the warp and then roll into it with Diddy, and Rheal does showcase that very, very nicely. Okay, now we're off into 4-3, Ice Age Alley. Moral of the story here is keep the bird at all costs. Bird runs real fast. You definitely want to jump up slopes and run down slopes. The bird does get slowed down while running up slopes, and he does gain speed while running down slopes. And Kane is very close to getting what we call slope there. That is a very scary strat. Doesn't save that much time, but if you do get it, you will get the little speed boost from running down that slope. But if you are too early on your descent, you won't actually have enough height to make that slope, and you'll die. So can't blame him for opting out, but it is a cool swaggy strat if you get it. Rheal also going safely above that one slope. It is important to note that most of this level is actually fairly straightforward for the Ice Age Alley that Rheal's on right now, except for this one part right here where you could theoretically bonk into that Mankey. If you take damage while on an animal buddy, you will be thrown forward, just like Rheal was thrown forward right there. And in the case of that Mankey Kong section, you get thrown forward into a pit of death, and you can't do anything about it. So we will see an intentional deboost off of an animal buddy later on in the run in World 6. But for now, we're off into everyone's favorite water level, Croctopus Chase. Burn your Croctopus update. What we're going to look for here are how well they cut their corners and how fast they mash. Theoretically, the fastest swimming speed you can do in the vertical direction is 1 frame of B press, and then 1 frame release, and then 1 frame B press, 1 frame release, etc., etc. It's a 60 frame per second game, so you could theoretically do it 30 times a second. That would be your fastest vertical climb. However, obviously, as humans, we can't really do that, so we're just looking to mash as fast as humanly possible. For those tall vertical sections. All the other ones, you'll notice, like on Kanis' screen, you'll start on the opposite wall. In terms of cutting horizontal corners, you're going to start on the opposite wall, and then when you reach a certain visual cue, you're going to move towards the corner that you're trying to cut. That way you're at max horizontal speed by the time you reach that corner. Whereas you can see on Rheal's screen, he messed up that corner and ended up taking quite a bit of time loss there relative to the level, like what normally you would have. So we'll see how that impacts him at the end. Normally you know how well you do by the background music. There's going to be a piano section that will play by the time Kanis and Rheal exit the stage. The less of the piano section you hear, the faster you performed. And theoretically, you can get through the level with 0 piano notes played, and that's what we call pianoless. And only 2 runners that, to my knowledge, have done it. KBZ, who is in this tournament still, and Suimind, a Japanese runner who kind of recently picked up this game and showed just what a god he is by hitting tons of frames and getting a 33 very, very quickly. Very good runner. So shout out to Sui. I kind of mentioned earlier how Winky's Walkway was one of the funnest levels in World 2. It was a short but sweet platformer, and that is exactly what this one is on Kanis' screen right now. This is Torchlight Trouble. We don't grab the bird at the beginning. The bird does provide light, which would be useful for a casual run, but in a speed run, it actually causes lag frames. So we opt to avoid it and play this level in the dark. And there's a lot of variations and strategies, and a lot of the riskier ones involve landing on the edge of oil drums and rolling from that. We'll see some more of that technique in ODA, Oil Drum Alley, which is the first level in World 5. Oh, Kanis does get the frame. I didn't get to talk about it. I was busy talking about Torchlight, but there is a super jump roll that is available in Robridge Rumble. Saves about, I believe, 9 seconds over not attempting the SJR at all. But the setup time is about like 9 seconds as well. So that is a free 9 seconds that Rheal will be able to save off of Kanis. Ooh, and Kanis dies on the... I didn't see how he died because I was looking at Rheal to see if he was going to do anything for the SJR, but he does die on one of the harder portions of this level. There is a extendo that Kanis just went through right there, and he does a camera manip to set up the ability to reach that platform with the DK barrel. And Rheal, I didn't get to catch it, but obviously had no problem. I don't know if he went for it or not, but you can see on hopefully you saw on Kanis' screen, he faced left to pan the camera away from the tire so that it would be further to the right when he rolled across it, giving him more distance to actually reach the DK barrel platform. But yeah, that is a tough strat, and it can backfire as it did on Kanis' screen. But now we're like pretty darn close in race times. We'll see what the banana drop times are here. So we got a 16 and a 17. 19-16, 19-17 for Kanis and Rheal respectively. So it is pretty much a tie ball game. We are probably within half a second right now of each other. We're entering ODA. I know for sure Kanis will be going for this frame. He's going to roll through this naughty, take damage against the oil drum, and you see how Diddy again ran to the right into a wall and jumped off screen. So he has that super jump state stored. Kanis is going to swap, hold B during the swap, and he does get the frame, presses Y perfectly. Only gets 2 baddies though, does not get 3 or 4. I don't know if he knows the 4 baddie setup, but I know he does at least know the 3 baddie setup, and it looks like he was just a little bit late on his wiggle, or over-exaggerated his wiggle, missed the naughty, so not quite the most optimal ODA SJR, but it is way faster than what Rheal has to do, which is play through this level frameless. And watch this ending, guys, on Rheal's screen. This is a tough ending. We'll see how aggressive he takes it. Going to go for an extendo through that Mankey, roll across the tire. Ooh, and he did pick up a backup Kong, so he is fine. That is a tough section right there on Rheal's screen. That's one of the spots where if in a PB attempt you wouldn't have a second Kong in there, so that damage he took would have been death. But he did play it safe in a race, and can't blame him. So that backup Kong really did help. Kanis is probably trying to set up the Elevator Antics SJR, but he already killed the other snake, so he really needs to respawn that. Okay, there he goes. Now he's got it. Takes damage, and he was too late. He's missed. Don't go for it, Kanis. Don't waste your time. You do not have the super jump state. Okay, he knows better. Okay, that time that he spent messing around with that, unfortunately for him, let Rheal catch right back up. We are back to nearly a tie ball game. So what he was going for was trying to take damage as Diddy to set up a super jump, and then he was going to try to SJR off of a snake. But he killed both snakes that you normally damage off of. The trick itself saves 13 seconds, but it costs 7 seconds to set up, I believe. So not only did he lose 7 seconds of, well, he lost more than 7 seconds of setup just because he spent so much time trying to reset it up. So yeah, that was, I can't argue with his strategy choice, though. I am a big proponent of the snake. I feel like it's a really cool SJR, so I'm really happy that he went for it. Just unfortunate it didn't work out in this scenario. Okay, Poison Pond. This level, I think when people first start out playing this game, is very, very challenging. I think that's true for a lot of water levels, though. I think it's hard to understand the level layout, and these mincers can often, because of that, you're not sure where the mincers are and how your fish lunging durations are going to last, and like if you're going to bop into enemies or if you're going to actually kill them. Kanis actually taking damage right there, losing his fish, and that's kind of what happens when you first start out. After a while, though, you start getting a methodology in place. Like, I'm going to do 4 lunges here, I'm going to do 3 lunges here, so it usually becomes pretty free. But I wonder if there are some race nerves on Kanis, because he has been having some struggles thus far, and I wonder, it's one of those things usually where speedrunning is a mostly mental game, and when a few things start going wrong, you start to second guess yourself. You start to question if your movements are correct. You get out of your flow, and I feel like that might be what's happening with Kanis right now. Normally that's not an issue for him. He races this game plenty fine, and he was a big part of the D-Gen race crew, so we all know he knows how to play. He just needs to take a deep breath and focus on the remainder, because he's definitely not out of this. He probably will be going for the jump roll here. Rheal opting out of it. I can't blame Rheal. Okay, so Kanis does get the jump roll. That is a frame-perfect trick. Pressing Y on that necky right there. If he was late, he would have bounced off the bird and died. If he was early, he would have just rolled through the level, just like what Rheal's doing. Rheal took it safe, didn't waste any time with setting up the jump roll, but Kanis does get it, which saves 4 seconds. This rolling through air glitch lasts all the way until the next catwalk, which is right there on Rheal's screen. So as soon as that catwalk is crossed, the rolling through air glitch is deactivated, and they have to take the carts all the way through the rest of the level. For optimizations here, we're looking to roll through the Kremlins. You'll notice that if you roll through the Kremlins, you're able to essentially roll straight into the cart, whereas if you bounce off the Kremlins, you have to wait for the descent back into the cart. So that's definitely a showcase of a beginner versus like intermediate strat right there. You'll see a lot of the newer players just bounce off those Kremlins, not sure of themselves on those tire rolls, whereas these guys are seasoned professionals, getting tire rolls no problem. Blackout basement here, we're looking at some number of frames on, some number of frames off for the lights. As long as you stay on your scheduled route, the lights being on and off won't bother you. Kanis opted to take it safe there, taking the halfway barrel. I wonder if that's, again, some of these jitters that I've been seeing from him in this race. I'm not sure if he normally goes for halfway in a race or not. It is, any death in a blackout basement will be pretty costly because a lot of the death points are after halfway. And it's not a super duper long stage, but you definitely don't want to die and have to replay it. So they're both exiting pretty much the same time, though. Very, very close. This is going to make for a very exciting end. Okay, so for Boss Dumb Drum, we're going to kill the first 3 sets of enemies with Diddy, because he can bounce on them and kill them. Then we'll swap to Donkey, because the clumps, or a Rheal swapping early, doesn't really impact anything, but you definitely want Donkey for the last 2 sets, because the clumps and the armies cannot be killed by Diddy jumping on them, whereas they can be killed by Donkey jumping on them. So it is a faster strat to swap to Donkey and just kill them there. We'll swap back to Diddy at the beginning of 6-1, Tanked Up Trouble, aka Tut. So World 6, there are 5 platforming levels, 3 of which have frame-perfect tricks in them that are RTA viable for all stages. The first one, Tut, you have Krem Tut and Bird Tut. Krem Tut will be a jump roll off of a Kremlin, which will save about 53 seconds. I doubt either of these runners will go for it. Bird Tut is off of a Necky, and that saves about 42 seconds. And they both definitely will be going for that. And so that's a big portion of the run right here. That this will be a big determining factor if one person gets it and the other one doesn't. Outside of this, you have Misty Minds has an SJR. That's about 28 seconds or something like that. If you get it versus if you don't. And then Perils, Platform Perils, the last level in this world, will have another jump roll worth about 8 to 12 seconds, depending on how the end of the level is played. Kane is going for the... Oh my god, dude, he went for Krem and he got it! Okay, it is not over now yet, folks. There is still a really hard thing that he has to do, and Rheal does not get Bird Tut, so Rheal will take at least a 40-second penalty for having to play through at this level. However, on Kanis' screen, he is going for the wiggle, and he does not get it! That is the risk! Oh no! So that is why it is terrifying. Like, if you're going for a PB attempt and you have a really high tier run, then definitely by all means go for Krem Tut. It is a huge time save. And if you die like Kanis did, you just reset and try again. But going for Krem Tut in a race setting with it's a no reset run essentially, you have to have a lot of confidence in yourself to actually hit the wiggle there, because the frame perfect jump roll is hard enough as it is. Then you have to get a wiggle to not hit either the moving platform or the stationary platform where you got the jump roll, and that can actually kill you if you touch a platform and then run off of it. It happens to everyone who goes for Creme. And then the third thing you do, you have to get the wiggle, and that Kanis showed right there just how hard it is. Even if you get 2 out of the 3 pieces of that trick, the third one can still at any time kill you, and playing through this level all the way through is pretty brutal after that death. Ooh, okay, so with that out of the way, Rheal safely through there, so not getting Bird Touch didn't hurt him, and since Rheal didn't get Bird Touch, Kanis wasn't hurt too badly. He's not out of this by any stretch of the imagination, because by getting Creme Tut, you do get the halfway point automatically. I don't know exactly how far behind he is, probably like 10 seconds or something. So I mentioned earlier about damaging off of animals will propel you forward. So you see on Rheal's screen, we keep the Rhino all the way through, and he's going to purposely take damage not on this first gap with 1 mincer, but on the second gap with 2 mincers is the standard strat. However, some people have been working on some improved strats here with the Rhino that can save an additional 0.2 if you do the deboost section a little bit differently. But the standard way that Rheal showcase right there is perfectly fine and very, very fast. The Kanis, again, we'll see it on his screen right here, jumping into the mincer, taking damage, propel us forward onto the platform, and then roll our way through the rest of the stage. Unfortunately, Rheal did not get through the end safely. He did lose his Diddy, so he's going to move a little slower through the stage, and he won't have 2 Kongs to set up the Misty Mines SJR, although I don't know if he goes for it, because he didn't go for ODA, and usually ODA is more common than Misty. So Kanis, on the other hand, does have both Kongs. He'll take damage here. Diddy will run into the wall, jump off screen to get the super jump state, get Diddy back, and press Y, but he was a little bit late and gets the super jump, but not the super jump roll. The super jump by itself is too slow for this stage, so we do opt to go out of the super jump and roll through the rest of it. Rheal does have 2 Kongs now. He's going to take it nice and safe through the rest of the stage. I'm sure having a second Kong here is probably a little bit slower due to lag, I would assume. But in a race situation, can't blame either of these guys from getting the backup Kong to make sure that they do get out of the stage alive. Only 1 frame left and 1 platforming stage left, so, you know, it is definitely Rheal's race to lose at this point. He's got a big enough lead that even if Kanis gets the jump roll in perils, I believe Rheal will still win as long as he has solid execution in the next 2 levels. We're in Loopy Lights right now, another level with the gimmick of the lights being on or off, or I should say with the lights being off. There are light barrels, though, that you can grab to turn the lights on. They aren't really needed. As a speedrunner, you kind of memorize the route, and there's enough vision that you can actually see what you're doing. So unless the barrel's on the way, we're not going to grab it. And yeah, as long as he times his jumps right, just to avoid the clap traps, and he does get those 2 tie rolls, very nice. Only opts to jump over 1 of those Bs does Rheal at the end there. Doesn't go for the double B jump. Again, can't blame him. Sometimes going for that double B jump can be pretty scary, and I've definitely lost the 32 pace run myself in that B section, so... And you have to wonder, does he know that he's in the lead? Is he race and see that he does have the sufficient amount of time save that he doesn't have to risk anything at this point to win this race? Meanwhile, I'm sure Kanis is not too thrilled with how things have gone. Between getting the frame in RVR, but then bonking to lose the SJR, and then oh no, Rheal! He didn't cross the gap. That is, I said it was Rheal's race to lose, and there it is, folks. He has lost his advantage. However, this stage is still very, very tough. Anything can happen. 1 death from Kanis will put Rheal back in the lead. Also, if Rheal gets the frame and Kanis doesn't, and Kanis gets the frame. So that is pretty much a wrap for race 1. Very unlikely that Rheal or that Kanis would make a mistake in the next 2 bosses to cough up this lead. So that's a heartbreak for Rheal, and a real what's the term? He'll have a sigh of relief, I should say, will Kanis coming out of this race. I'm sure he wasn't too thrilled with how things went, but always will be happy to take the W, I'm sure. But yeah, Rheal did not get the frame, so you can see just how tough this platforming is. We'll see how aggressive he takes this ending. Is he gonna? Okay, so he opts to take it safe there, using every single, not every single member, but using a few additional arrow platforms to make sure he gets out of there safely. Again, can't really blame him. You really don't want to die in platform perils in a race. It's just a huge time loss. Rather take the few seconds of safety there to grab the platforms and make it out alive. So kind of mentioned with Neki 1 earlier that the spawns are RNG, whether they're high or low. Instead of firing off one nut, though, this Neki fires off one for every hit he's already received. Up to 5. So yeah. There is a more optimal strat that you can do. I don't think either player did it, though. Saves a little bit of time to like stay on the opposite wall of Neki, bounce over all but one of the nuts, and then on the last one, or the second to last one, you get onto his inside wall, let his nut come down, and then jump on the tire while the final nut is coming out and land on his head more optimally. The isolation wasn't that great there, but it saves a little bit of time. Not too bad on low spawns, really challenging on high spawns is the moral of the story. So this final boss, really not that hard. The only thing you can really do is go for crownless hits. As soon as the crown is off Kid Rheal's head, you can bop him, and the optimization would be bopping him as early as possible. If you do it early enough, the crown won't even be visible in his hand, and it definitely won't be on the ground rolling towards you. So normally the crownless hits are easier to time with Donkey than with Diddy, but I think both players opted to use Diddy. Technically, you can get optimal hits with both Kongs, but I think most runners agree that it's just easier to time it with Donkey. And Kanis coming up on the second to last hit right here, I believe. Yeah, second to last hit, and then he'll be one more hit for the victory. And there we have it. That is game 1 in the books for Kanis right there, getting a 33.55 on his timer, 35.57 on SRL. Rheal shortly behind him. Was it like a 36.20 maybe? $36.20, yeah, 36.20 on his timer, 36.24 SRL. Very close race. Again, I'm sure Kanis was a little bit disappointed with how some of those things unfolded, but obviously he's going to be happy to get the win there. A decent number of things happened well for Rheal. It was really just that that Peril's death at the end cost him everything. He had it in the books. All he had to do was, which easier said than done, was to beat Perils. But yeah, he came up short on one of his jumps out of one of his extendos, and that's all she wrote for game 1. Okay, it looks like there's another race room. Let's see. Enter that, see where the runners are at. Oh, I gotta update that thing, my bad. +1 to Kanis. Did I click it? Okay, I did, good. So yeah, we have the new we have the new race room up. I think we're waiting for everyone to get situated once again, and we'll get another race start. But that was a hype first race, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Really fun to commentate that one. Always great when the race is close. Hopefully we have another spectacular race number 2. We'll see if any of them change their strats, or maybe I think Kanis will be a lot more comfortable the second race. Now that he has a win under his belt, he'll know that even if he makes a few mistakes, and if he somehow loses the second one, he will have the third race available. And having that bit of confidence usually does go a long way for speedrunning mentality. Meanwhile, in Rheal's camp, if you are a Rheal fan, you have to be thinking, what can I do differently this time? He did have the win in hand, and unfortunately choked a little bit at the end. But on the bright side, you do have to look and say, hey, I was up against a 33 PB caliber runner, and I held my own. And that is a great sign. That could be just the confidence he needs to get started. Oh, wait, hold on a second. To get this second race in his favor. Anywho, it looks like... wait, hold on a second. I think they're waiting... Are they waiting on me? Hold on a second. I might be in the wrong room. Caster being bad. Yeah, okay. That is not what I wanted to do. Okay, well, anyways, they're off. I'm sorry, guys. Poor commentating there. Anyways, race number 2 underway. We got level 1 all over again. Again, we're going to take the Donkey Kong into the Naughty to purposely get Diddy Kong in front, extendo through all those enemies, get a really nice roll, and Rheal showcasing it perfectly. Kanis following suit with a very, very nice extendo. And that's how it's done, folks. Kanis actually taking a little safe there on the Kremlin staircase, opting for a little bit of a left-right wiggle to make sure he doesn't take damage. And then he does get slow rolled right there, crossing the final gap. So a little bit of a time loss there on Kanis' side, but nothing that should concern him. That's so minor compared to the length of the run. Rheal entering the bonus warp, or sorry, the bonus barrel, which is going to take them very, very far into the stage with great velocity. One of 2 bonuses in the run that we take. This one and Elevator Antics is the other one, where it's actually faster to take the bonus, exit the bonus, and then continue the rest of the stage rather than playing the stage out in its own right. Okay, this is Reptile Rumble. We didn't get to see this stage last race because the stream kind of crashed out on us. So now we'll see the hardest level in World 1. You can see a little bit of a delay on both Kanis and Rheal's side there in front of those Kremlins to make sure that they were close enough to Diddy Kong that Diddy could roll through all of them for extra speed. As I mentioned in last race, rolling through up to 4 enemies will continually increase your roll speed. After the 4th enemy, you are at max speed. And they're both out of there with no problems. Very, very nice. So here we're in Coral Capers. Easy level to bleed time in. Again, just like in Croctopus Chase or any other water level, you're going to want to mash any of those vertical sections. There's not very many vertical sections in this level that you have to play as the Kongs, so just those like little 2 sections there. As soon as you get to this on guard, you want to hold B and up while mounting to get a lift off. Kanis actually bonked into a corner there, slowing him down a little bit, and failing the Croctopus skip right there, the Croctopus clip. During the lunge animation, you actually have some invincibility frames as the swordfish, so we're able to use that to get past that Croctopus without taking damage typically. He mistimed his lunge, and so he did lose his fish. A little bit of a time loss there. Well, again, while it is not insurmountable by any stretch of the imagination, definitely not the start that Kanis probably wanted, especially after having a semi-shaky race 1, even though he did win it. So again, hopefully he can right some of those nerves. Meanwhile, Rheal cleanly through all the stuff so far, taking these auto barrels. We'll see on Kanis' screen. So Rheal opted to not grab the Rhino token right there. We'll see on Kanis. He'll probably go for it. And he does not. He actually rolls across. So neither of them went for it. I was going to mention that when you're racing this game multiple times in a row, make sure you reset your console, either a hard or soft reset. Otherwise, your Animal Buddy tokens will remain with you on your second playthrough or third playthrough or however many playthroughs you've been through. In this speed run, the Espresso tokens are the one that have us at risk, because there is an Espresso token in the first level that you can sometimes accidentally grab, and there is one in Poison Pond that you almost always grab unless you go out of your way to avoid it. So with 2 races under your belt, you could be getting the Espresso animal token bonus, which is going to lose you 1 trillion seconds, scientifically speaking. So I did see that Rheal lost his Diddy Kong at the end of Barrel Cannon Canyon, and then he did have to swap to Diddy again. So that was a little bit of time save that Kanis was able to pick up on, but Kanis still just a little bit behind, not too far. Again, I don't expect to see huge separation in the first few worlds. Again, Rheal opting to grab the DK barrel. That little bit of slow down and freeze while picking up the DK barrel. You can see on Kanis' screen where he has no delay, so he gains a little bit of time right there. Back to Bouncy Bonanza, one of the hardest, like I said, stages in World 2. It is actually kind of fun, but stressful, and right there, Rheal overextends his welcome there in that roll, jumps right into a B because of that bonk as a result. So Kanis is caught right back up. Rheal going through the crawl spaces. You'll see this time he actually is getting the oh, he does get the crawl off in that one. That's exactly what happened last time. Kanis, meanwhile, does get the B skip perfectly yet again. Oh, I missed what happened to Rheal. I just assumed he was going to get the second B skip because he got it last time, but it looks like he took damage. Probably jumped out of his crawl space, jumps a little bit early, and the B probably bopped him. That's the only thing I could think of that would have happened there. So yeah, now Rheal is just a little bit behind. Again, not an insurmountable lead, so he can definitely come back in this. So while Kanis had some issues in World 1, it looks like Rheal's the one having some issues in World 2. But again, Bouncy Bonanza is the toughest level in World 2. I expect Rheal to keep it clean throughout the rest of World 2. And again, Rock Crocs right there. We're able to roll through it without taking damage, as long as you're in the rolling animation. Rheal going through there perfectly fine. Mills of Mayhem, we got the super jump. So again, we're going to take damage as Donkey. Donkey will hit a slope and jump off screen. Perfect. Now we're going to get Donkey back, take damage as Diddy. Hold B during the damage transition, fall on an enemy, and as long as we're holding B, we will rise infinitely straight into the Developer Warp Barrel right there, take us to the end of the level. And this is perfect, because this actually sets us up for something I forgot to mention. Donkey Fanfare is actually a little bit faster than Diddy Fanfare, so playing this boss with Donkey is actually optimal. Not to mention the fanfare, but also the fact that 3-1 has like I said, a Donkey-only warp barrel, so we want to have Donkey in front anyways, so killing 2 birds with 1 stone right there. Was that like a 2-second lead for Kanis, something like that? Okay, so in the first race, Kanis did enter this level with only Diddy. This time he has Donkey in front, which is perfect. So you can see the warp barrel's already there, ready for him. He just rolls right in. So does Rheal. You'll notice a little bit of a different strategy on the 2 screens. Kanis coming out of the warp. Either he accidentally held Y coming out of the warp barrel, and thus was forced into hitting the mini necky, or he purposely hit the mini necky to avoid any confrontation with it. Whereas Rheal was able to not hold Y coming out of the warp barrel, and then mid-air start holding Y, and that lets you avoid killing the mini necky. It's a little bit faster. Okay, so again, last race, Kanis did go for the SJR here. They're both going to set up a super jump state. but Kanis will probably go for the SJR again. Rheal probably is just going to go for the super jump. So taking damage with Diddy, flying off screen, getting Diddy back. Okay, let's see. They're going to take damage as Donkey, get Diddy in front, hold B. Oh, he didn't have the super. Oh, no, Rheal. Don't play this level out, Rheal. Don't. Oh, no, Rheal. This is super slow and risky. So it's actually faster just to kill yourself and try the super jump again, I'm pretty sure. I believe for my timings, it's like optimal to take the SJR, and then the next optimal would be getting just the super jump, which is like 18, 19 seconds slower. And then the next optimal thing is to, if you fail both of those strats, to kill yourself and try the super jump roll again. And that's like another like 5 seconds of time loss or something over the super jump. And then taking the ropes all the way through, I believe, is like 40 something seconds slower, or it's really, really slow, and it's very unfortunate. So I probably should say, don't quote me that it's worse to do this than dying, but it's at least a toss-up, and I'm not sure if Rheal knew that. And like you can see, this ending section with the neckies is pretty scary. So yeah, thank gosh for Rheal that he was able to get out of that alive. Okay, so that does give Kanis, like I said, I would assume that's probably like a 25-second lead. I'll try to pay attention at the end of their blackouts for this level. Yo, Kanis getting the really nice extendo, opting to jump out at the very end instead of... No, actually, no, he got it all. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. Good job, Kanis. Last time, when Rheal went for the double extendo at the end of the level, he definitely botched the setup and wasn't able to get it. So let's see if he can correct his mistake from last time and crush this double extendo. Very satisfying when you get it. Good. So he had a decent setup to start with. I don't know exactly what happened there. Kind of got slow rolled at the end, which makes me think that he took too long to repress his Y button and let his roll actually die out. That would be my assumption there. I didn't pay attention to the map warp count on Kanis' side. I was watching Rheal's, but he did get through O-Gang pretty quick, so I assume it was first try or second try. It didn't seem like he struggled with it, based on when I last looked, and I did not check the timers at all, so I have failed everyone here. Let's check how Rheal does on the old map warp here. Mash the face buttons, A, B, X, Y, on the corner, gets it second try, loses about 1 second over first try. Kanis losing his fish and then taking 2 extra lunges right there. Not a huge deal. That's a pretty safe spot to lose your fish. Probably just a few seconds. But at this point, Rheal could use any help that he can get. Oh, and another accidental clam clip right there. So yeah, this is what Rheal needed to help him get back in this. As long as Rheal stays within like 1 frame worth to Kanis, then it's definitely still anyone's race. Okay, so I didn't get to mention it before in this B fight, but Kanis does the fast strat where you pick up the barrel and then as Diddy, and then you wait till the B is like just above you, and then you jump and throw at the peak of your jump, and the throwing animation with Diddy will actually make contact with the B. If you just hold the barrel with Diddy and jump without throwing, you don't actually reach the B. Because normally the high point is supposed to be only reachable by a donkey throw or a donkey jump. But yeah, there's a small window where Diddy can get it as well. And if you do get that that high hit with Diddy, it does set up for low hits for the rest of the fight as Diddy, which is really, really nice. Helps keep this fight optimal for you as a Diddy Kong, which is good because you want to play 4-1 as Diddy, so you don't want to have to swap to Donkey just to get optimal hits. Okay, Kanis does get the 6-frame Joe roll in the snow right there, and does not go for Zera. Or he does go for the Zero extendo off the Necky. Is late on the repress of Y, which is okay, because then you bounce off of the claptrap there. If you are too early on your Y repress, you roll your face right into the claptrap and take damage, which is really, really bad. So, good decision on Kanis' part, making sure he was late and not early. Rheal, unfortunately, was taking damage on that Necky. I wonder if he he rolled too early or something, and then couldn't get to the barrel in time before the other necky hit him. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever really seen that to know exactly how that occurred. Very unfortunate. At least he had the DK barrel nearby where he could get Diddy back. You definitely don't want to play this level out as Donkey. Anytime you're Donkey, you're pretty much dead, as the saying goes. And Donkey is really slow. So good recovery from Rheal to stay strong there. Kanis now attempting the out-of-bounds rope jump, taking a second try at it, which is not bad at all. Safe through that section. I'm assuming he does not go for under the B. He does not go for the roll under the B. It's not that much faster going to the B, and it is a lot scarier, so I can't blame him in a race setting for going over the top of the B there. Meanwhile, Rheal is now going to have to follow suit, do exactly what Kanis did. Again, Kanis did take a second rope jump to get into the out-of-bounds area, so that's a small room for Rheal to improve upon Kanis' attempt. Okay, he also, I believe that was second try. So keeping pace with Kanis right there. Again, this level in Kanis' level, Ice Age Alley, you want to play as the bird all the way through. You want to run down slopes and you want to jump up slopes to stay as fast as possible throughout the entirety of the stage. Most of this level is pretty easy. It's just the one section coming at where Kanis is right now with the Mankey Kong. If he does accidentally crash into that Kong, he'll be thrown off of Espresso and straight into death. So he does get through there safely, perfectly done. And now you get the aquatic ambiance. Just a matter of how well can Kanis and Rheal cut their corners in this level. I don't remember exactly what their piano counts were last time. But I remember that, from what I remember, Kanis did pretty decent, and I know I saw a few issues from Rheal in terms of corners, so hopefully he'll clean up the corners the second go-around. I have no doubt he will. But yeah, other than that, there's not really much else to talk about in this stage, so I'll just let you guys enjoy some of this music here. Definitely one of the signature tracks in this game and in the DKC trilogy as a whole. Okay, so Kanis is on out of there. I did notice that he got stuck in a few corners, unfortunately, like a few cubby holes. And from what I saw on Rheal's side, he looked like he played pretty darn well. Ooh, Kanis taking a death in Torchlight. That is actually a pretty common death if he did what I think he did, which is you're trying to roll across a gap right there near the very beginning of the stage after you back boost off of a clump. However, you can't roll too early or you'll roll into the gap, and you can't roll too late, otherwise your roll won't register and you'll just run off the thing. So yeah, that is a pretty common place to take a death. Fortunately, it is a very quick death, so not a huge deal. He definitely still has a lead. So no need to panic yet on if you're in Kanis's camp. Meanwhile, I'm not seeing anything on Rheal's side. Taking a look right now. Yeah, what I saw on Rheal's side there, everything looked pretty good. He did opt out of the barrel toss. Or sorry, he did opt out of the roll jump over the what's it called? Crusher. Kanis, meanwhile, setting up the SJR. Did he get it? I'm not sure if he... It almost looked like he had it and then jumped out of it, but I'm not positive. The only reason I say it looked like he had it is because it looked like he was super horizontal for a long time there, almost as if he had the SJR. But he jumped out of it, so I'm assuming he knows better than I. He probably knew he didn't get it, and then was trying to salvage that. But then was off-put by the second army's position or something. Very unfortunate right there. At least this time he nailed the camera manip strat, which I know last time he did take a death there. So very good on him to keep his head on straight and make sure he plays the level out well the remainder, because you can't do anything about the past. All you can do is work on the present. So. And yeah, just like that, Rheal is taking the slow and steady approach, playing some nice, consistent DKC 1, and keeping himself in this race for sure. And you can see that Rheal actually goes for a D-boost strat here. This is the pre-SJR boss fight, where we take damage as Donkey during the final hit to prevent Naughty from jumping up in the air really high. So we can instantly get a hit off on him. However, in the advent of the SJR era, we need both Kongs entering this level to set up the super jump state. So Kanis does have a slightly slower Naughty fight because of that, but does get the opportunity to set up the SJR right here. He did nail it last time, so let's see what happens this time. He gets the super jump, unfortunately, not the super jump roll. He was a little bit late pressing the Y button, so that is unfortunate. The Rheal does get a little bit of a bonus time save over Kanis here, because Kanis did do the slower Naughty fight in World 4 and went for the setup on the SJR in ODA. So as long as Rheal keeps it clean in the rest of this level, he will increase his advantage. However, if we do remember from last race, Rheal showcased just how hard this end section is. He does have 2 Kongs, but did take damage. And the other way you can fail this level. So last race, Rheal took damage on the fire, but had 2 Kongs, so he was okay to continue living. This time he goes in the opposite direction, overcompensates, bypasses the oil jump completely and falls to his death. And this is one of the main reasons why you want to get the SJR in this level. Ending this level on natural is really, really tough when you're trying to do it optimally. Very easy to die there. And Rheal taking damage on that oil drum. So this time he can't even do the ending optimally, as Diddy has to take Donkey through the end, which is quite a bit slower. In fact, you really can't make the same roll jumps that Diddy can make. So he's just going to take it safe and wait for the oil drums to naturally extinguish before jumping on them. Very unfortunate. Huge time loss on Rheal's side. Kanis, meanwhile, setting up the SJR. Let's see if he gets it. Does not get it. He is early. That is about a 7-second setup that he took to do that. So while it is looking a little bit grim for Rheal after that huge death there, he will have solace in the fact that there are 7 seconds sitting there waiting for him in elevator antics. The end of this level, let's see if does Kanis go for the mini necky roll? No, he does not go for the mini necky roll. That is a spot where you could die if you go for it and fail. So he does take the safe strat there. Can't blame him. That is a really scary, risky strat. Does not save that much. Meanwhile, he is going to get to the point of elevator skip, so he's going to face left here, keep the camera from panning to the right, so the elevators spawn in the proper position, so he can roll under that one and then jump to the next one, bypassing a full cycle. Very, very nice. Not necessarily a tough trick, but it is aggravating if you don't get it, and you're just seething with rage as you wait for the cycle. Okay, so I believe Kanis. I think Kanis lost his fish a few times, very, very minorly in Poison Pond. Not like they weren't. I don't think they were big losses, but Rheal will be hoping that Kanis does that again this race if he wants to get back in this one. Like I kind of mentioned this before, Poison Pond is a pretty tough level when you're first learning this game, but after you become a seasoned pro, I feel like you get a route down with where to lunge and where not to lunge, and the level becomes relatively free, except for this trick coming up on Kanis' screen. He is not going for triple mincer. I do believe he lost his... That's exactly where he lost his fish last time. When you lunge with Unguard, you do have some invincibility frames, and you can use those iframes to go through the mincers. There are 3 mincers in particular that you get to go through, aka triple mincer is why we call it that trick. We'll see if... well, it'll be a while before Rheal gets to that point. But we'll have to keep note to see if Rheal goes for it. I'm not sure he does, to be honest. It's kind of split. A decent number of people still go for only single mincer clip. So last run, Kanis did get the frame, and he gets it again. But it was second attempt there on the jump, the second bird. But if you've done optimally, it saves about 4 seconds. So I'm assuming getting the second bird probably is like 3.5 seconds. Still well worth it since he did get it. However, if he had been late on his Y press there, he would have bounced off the bird and fallen to his death. So I do love the risks that Kanis has taken, keeping it exciting for the fans there. I believe last race, Rheal opted to not go for the frame. I believe he just safely rolled through all the birds, or jumped over them. So you'll notice that in the beginning of the stage, these runners were able to roll through the air. However, in the back half, you can see Kanis took the carts. That's because once you get to the first land section, which there is a catwalk near the halfway point of the stage, the ability to roll through the air, that glitch is deactivated. So they have to take the carts the rest of the way through. In Blackout Basement on Kanis' screen, the lights are going to flash on and off. As long as you stick to your patterns, what you've trained on, that light cycle isn't going to impact you. However, it is the kind of level where once one thing goes off, where something goes wrong, and you suddenly are on the wrong light pattern, where Kanis that's exactly what I was talking about. When one thing goes wrong in that level and you're on the wrong light pattern, your movement, you start questioning your movement. Things that you normally don't see, you now see, and things that you normally see, you don't see. So you kind of don't feel comfortable anymore. You don't really know what's there and what isn't there. And you can see that in that very moment, Kanis knew that the moving platform was somewhere in that vicinity, but he didn't quite predict exactly where it was going to be, because normally he can see it coming, and that time he couldn't. So yeah, that's just how punishing this level can be when you make one mistake. And where is... Okay, so that's where he is. So Rheal's not that far behind. About a little bit less than half a stage. Ooh, Rheal not pressing the Y button, not getting his roll up. So now Rheal is off on his light cycles. We'll see if that impacts Rheal like it did Kanis. Yeah, see right there, Rheal had no idea how to behave on that rope section. He didn't know, like with Diddy, you're able to roll under the rope and jump to the next platform, but he wasn't quite sure how Donkey would behave there, and there were no lights to assist him, so he opted to just wait an extra cycle there. I mean, I obviously can't blame him. If you're not comfortable with the current light cycle you're on, you definitely want to take it safe, because the death is disastrous in this level. And Rheal is on out of there safely. And so he's going to have a little bit of a deficit here, exiting World 5 compared to Kanis. Kanis is already on the 5th set of enemies now, where Rheal is on the second set. However, the World 6 is a frame world. There are 5 levels, 3 RTA viable frames, totaling up about, let's see, 42, 50, nearly a minute and a half worth of frames in World 6. So still anyone's ball game. That was a 27-15 black in for Kanis in Tanked Up Trouble. We will see just how far behind Rheal is when he blacks in. So remember, 27-15. So last time Kanis went for Kremtut, and he nailed the frame and the initial wiggle, but he died to the B wiggle. We'll see, does he have the cojones to try it again? Okay, so he blacked in, what is that, like 27, 46 or something like that. So about 30, 31 seconds. So that is the difference of the frame. Okay, so he just did go for Creme Tut again. Definitely has balls to steal. Very, very nice. Let's see if he gets Bird Tut. This is a 42-second time save if he can get it, and he nails it. Okay, so that really puts the pressure on Rheal. Rheal really needs to hit this frame if he wants any chance. Because this is the biggest time save in the game, and Kanis nailed it. So. Can Rheal press Y on the exact frame needed to save this run? Oof. He was early. He rolled through the necky. That is a big sad point for all the Rheal fans out there. It is going to take a big issue from Kanis at this point for Rheal to come back into this one. Because I'm pretty confident that Rheal did not go for the Misty Mine SJR. Oh, no, he couldn't because he didn't have a Kong. But I don't know if he knows how to go for the Misty Mine SJR, but if he does, he needs to, and he needs to get it. Because that's the last biggest time save left. Barring that, we got Kanis on the Rhino right now. Going safely through the stage. He needs to keep his Rhino up until the point with the gap with 2 mincers. So here's the gap with 1 mincer. He's going to just jump over it safely and then purposely jump into the second mincer in this gap to get propelled onto the platform nice and sound. So there we go. He has played that level pretty well from what I saw. Very nice to see that. Yep, no issues there. Okay, so Rheal really needs to match that mincers. Now, I know Kanis does go for the SJR here. I believe he was late last time. I believe he ended up with a super jump instead of the SJR. So we'll see if he can correct it and press Y a little bit earlier this time. No, a little bit too early this time. Actually gets a roll out of that. So he's going to have to play this level out the natural way. Not a big deal. I don't know if he's watching or not, but he does have a comfortable lead. And I know last time he did take it safe and grab an extra Kong, which he does again this time. The one thing about this game, though, is that with barrel physics, when you like crack open a barrel like that, sometimes your next input does not register. And I believe that's what happened to Kanis right there, because he didn't just wantingly roll in or run into the enemy. He probably tried to press Y and the game didn't register. Meanwhile, I don't know what Kanis is doing. He is just trying to get a slap slide off. That makes me think that he is watching the race and does know where Rheal is. Because if he was not watching the race, there is no way he would be goofing around with that. So he probably is feeling mighty comfortable right now, and I can't blame him. He is... I mean, Misty Mine's a pretty long stage, and he is nearing the end of it while Rheal is just about to enter it, so... Okay, it almost looked like Kanis was going to go for the risky strat to roll jump over that final gap, but he opts out of it at the last second. Probably a smart move. Rheal does go for the SJR. Very nice to see that he at least got the attempt off. Was a little bit early on the Y press, it looked like. I think I saw him go roll through the snake. So he, too, will have to play the stage out as intended by the developers. So that is pretty much going to be a wrap for Rheal, unfortunately. Again, unless there is some kind of infinite on Kanis' end, Kanis would probably need 2 or 3 deaths at this point for Rheal to get back in this. And I mean, he's passed up most of the hard parts. While Perils is a very challenging stage when done optimally, with Kanis watching and knowing he's this far ahead, he'll probably opt to take a lot of things safe. Like, for instance, I might expect him to take the arrow platform in the very beginning of the level instead of roll jumping across the whole gap. And there's like if he doesn't get the frame, he'll probably take a lot of the arrow platforms at the end of the stage. So if he mitigates all of the risks in platform perils, there's not much Rheal can do. So quite a bummer for him. But I mean, anything can happen. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Okay. So props to Kanis. So he did go for the roll jump across the gap. Which, if you do mess up the strat there, you will die. You will fall to death. So, shoutouts to Kanis, going for the risky stuff, even though he didn't need to. He's setting up the frame right here, and good setup. And he was a little bit late on the Y press, so he does have to play the stage out. So that does give a little bit of hope to any Rheal fans out there. If Rheal hits the frame and Kanis does get into some kind of infinite, Rheal does still have a chance then. Ooh, Rheal takes some damage there. We'll have to watch out. Watch out for that. Oh, okay. Ooh, you gotta watch out for those claptraps. Whenever you jump and the claptrap is on the ground, the claptrap will also jump. Oh, he's going for a donkey tire roll. Wow. I'm not even sure if Donkey can make those. That was really ball. I mean, I'm assuming Rheal knew that he needed some kind of miracle right there, and so he opted to go for the hyper risky strat of donkey tire rolling across that section that you normally Diddy tire roll across, and it looked like Donkey just couldn't quite make the distance that Diddy could. Oof, that is very unfortunate. It's a fairly long death too. While Rheal did get halfway, the death he took was nearly at the very end of the stage, so pretty much half of a whole level he had to play through again. Okay, Kanis just bopping the bird now. And he's gonna get a 36-20, what is that, 36-25? 36-30? Something in that range on when he beats Rheal. So he got a high 35 and a mid 36. I'm sure he's not too thrilled about that. I'm sure he would much prefer low 35 or mid 34, but I'm sure he's also happy at least that he got the wins. So, ooh, Rheal, yeah, that's a brutal one. Rheal was not looking to pick up that DK barrel. He was looking to get on the right side of that arrow platform and then get, with his momentum, get a nice long, speedy roll across that section. Instead, he was a little bit too far left, and so when he was holding Y, he actually picked up the DK barrel and then fell to his death. Okay, let's see how aggressive Rheal opts to take this. Ooh, okay, he is. Oh, nice save there, Rheal. Very, very nice. No panic right there, man. He wanted to he wanted to throw, and then for some reason like turn back to the left to make sure he was still on the arrow platform to safely jump to the next platform. But he threw after he had already turned. So he missed his barrel toss, but didn't panic and found a way to wait for the Crusher to get out of his way and give a little bit of tiny room for him to land on the platform. Very, very nice, quick thinking from Rheal. Just a few more hits for Rheal on this boss. One more hit, and we'll be able to see what his end time will roughly be. It's about 2 minutes and 25 seconds, I think, to beat Rheal from the banana drop. So 3556 plus 225, so 37, 38. What is that? 3820 or something like that. So yeah, if Rheal had played like he did in the first race, he actually probably would have won this second race. But he had just a few more late game mistakes than he did last time, and that'll seal his fate in this losers bracket match, which does mean that Kanis moves on and Rheal is eliminated. So shoutouts to Kanis and GG, well played to both runners, and happy to have both these guys in this tourney. It was a pleasure to cast for sure. Very, very fun races. We'll see if Kanis wants to come in for an interview. Yeah, Rheal finishing up. He has just 3 hits left. Got to get through the fake credits. A little bit under a minute left for him before his race is completed. And final hit for Rheal right there. If he doesn't get himself killed. Does take damage there, but does finish out safe and sound, ending with his 38-20. So yeah, about a little bit under 2-minute difference between the two runners on the second race. It was exciting. Rheal definitely had his chances. There's several back and forth in both races, and Rheal definitely had a lead at one point in the late game. So, you know, it definitely could have gone either way. Very, very fun race. And let's see who is next on the bracket for Kanis. Since Kanis is moving on, let me check it out. Okay, so it'll be a while before we know exactly who Kanis gets to play in the next losers bracket round. First up, we have to wait for Lumophile versus Nay. That should be a pretty hype match. I believe Lumo has a 34 nowadays, right? And Nay has a 33. Pretty confident he has a 33. So Nay is probably considered a slight favorite, but Lumo has done a lot of work lately on his game. He's improved dramatically over the course of this tournament, so I still feel like that could go either way, for sure. Winner of that round will go over to play DNA. Very, very solid runner, actually known for being a keyboard warrior. So they'll have their hands, they'll have their, whatever, you know what the saying is. I don't even know. But that'll be a tough match. DNA is very, very good. He's got a 33-40 something PB. And then the winner of that match will play Kanis. So yeah, there's 2 rounds in the loser bracket that Kanis has to wait through to find out who his actual opponent is. So it's either DNA, Lumophile, or Nay. The worst of the bunch having a 34. So, and a 34 in this game is very, very strong. So that's it's going to be a tough round for him come next match. Let's see, did Rheal want an interview? Let's switch this. Yeah. As far as next up in terms of scheduled matches, it looks like my match versus Fathlo is the next match scheduled tomorrow at 9 p.m. on Speed Gaming 3. That is going to be a hype match. I know several people have said that might be the expected grand finals. Definitely possible. Fathlo is the current world record holder. I currently have a 32-26, which is only 27 seconds behind that, so not too bad. Super excited for that. He's such a great player. So we'll see what happens there. But that's the only other scheduled match, so some other runners are going to need to start scheduling some matches so we can get this tournament continued. But yeah, that's going to be fun. Either way, even if I lose or Fath loses, we'll be hopping into the losers bracket from there, and we'll be either playing Blue, Supreme, or the loser of Peachy and KBZ. So lots of really fun matches still waiting to happen in this tournament. So if you've liked what you've seen, make sure you continue to tune into Speed Gaming for the rest of this tournament. It's only going to get better from here. Shout outs to Speed Gaming for putting this on. Thank you so much for Kanis and Rheal for this race. It was a pleasure to commentate. Thanks to everyone here who was watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I think that's going to do it for us because I don't think anyone is coming in for an interview. So take care, guys. And until next time, peace out.